Hi everyone, a very good morning to you. Welcome to Mugello for round 2 of our 2026 Ferrari Challenge competition. And we're about to get qualifying underway for our Shell and Shell Am drivers here in the beautiful Tuscan countryside, and the weather is particularly appealing as well. Absolutely beautiful here this morning. And this 5.245 kilometer circuit has been the scene of so much in terms of the history of the Ferrari Challenge. For our calendar for this year, it is round 2 before we head off to Austria. Then, in support of the Le Mans 24 Hours, then it's Portimao, Budapest and Barcelona that will complete the 7-round tour of the Ferrari Challenge for Europe during this year of 2026. So the Mugello circuit then, as I mentioned, it's the scene of so much action in terms of the Ferrari Challenge over the years. And it's not always that we come here to find the air temperature of 13 degrees and sun shining beautifully and track temperature exactly the same as the air temperature at the moment. It will heat up beautifully during the course of the day. Still early morning here, around about 9:26 local time. And the scene is set then for our 30-minute qualifying session. This is the track in full then. 14 turns, 6 of them left-handers, 8 of them are right-handers. Situated just about an hour from Florence and a tad more from Bologna. And there you can see it's quite an undulating circuit as it winds its way through the beautiful countryside here in Tuscany, this Mugello circuit. A firm favourite of the drivers, of the spectators, and of all of us race fans as well. 27 cars will take to the track for this 30-minute qualifying session. The mix of Shell Am drivers with the black strip across the top of the windscreen, and the mix of Shell drivers with the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen. And where those colours are depicted on the graphics that you can see on screen right now, indicative of what category that those drivers are racing in, whether they're Shell drivers or Shell Am drivers. As I mentioned, 27 of them, so it is going to be a busy track where finding some clear tarmac to set the perfect lap and perfect lap time is going to be, dare I say it, at something of a premium. Here's von Skeltermark back to podium ways, and deservedly so. Von Skeltermark comes here then after a successful opening weekend in La Castellet. The shark's teeth then adorn the crash helmet, the race suit, the car, the luggage. It's become synonymous with von Skeltermark as we look at the Formula Racing driver Charles Chan in final stages of preparation here in the car, ready to get going. Some drivers choosing to go out early on, others preferring to wait a while. Tibor Valin then, long-term campaigner in the Ferrari Challenge, driving for the Rosso Corsa team. I was talking to the team principal, Andrea, just as I made my way up to the studio here. And yeah, Tibor Valin's a darned good driver, that's for sure. Ken Sato is another one of the Ferrari Challenge drivers who's in the final stages of preparation then, as he gets himself ready to go out there. He's the driver of the number 170 car for Formula Racing. And there you can see the hands device and crash helmet going on to Ken Sato. Just a minute before the end of the pit lane goes green, as they say, and the cars will be released out onto the circuit. This is Jean Rieu for Kessel Racing. Jean looking particularly focused in the 108 car for Kessel Racing. You can hear the klaxon going in background, and that is basically warning drivers that they're making their way down the pit lane. This is Sven Schirmer, the Penske Sportwagen Hamburg driver, who has been elevated into Shell this year through being successful in Shell Am last year. And this is Paolo Scudieri, the driver of car number 101 for Samocar. And spoke to Paolo Scudieri at breakfast this morning as we get the green lights then at the end of the pit lane, and off the drivers can go to set their qualifying lap times. This will set the grid for race 1 to come a little bit later on today. There's Lisa Clark driving for Pellin Racing. Lisa Clark was in action in Spa-Francorchamps just last weekend, does a lot of racing, a very, very talented racing driver is Lisa Clark. Great to see her here As I say, she's made her way from the Ardennes region of Belgium, Spa-Francorchamps, which of course has played host to Ferrari Challenge on more than a number of occasions, but was racing last weekend. And as I say, she's based in the States, and Los Angeles, and does a lot of racing in Europe and loves racing here in Europe, and is always a welcome addition to the Ferrari Challenge with the familiar colours adorning the 130 car. So Paolo Scudieri then, first tentative meters around the Tuscan tarmac, getting the tyres up to temperature. Let's introduce my colleague alongside me, Nico Spalek from Cologne in Germany, who as always makes his way to Italy here, and I think both of us really enjoy our trips to Mugello.
Yeah, definitely. Good morning, everybody, also from this end. Absolutely. Mugello has given us a plethora of weather conditions to contend with, and also, and first and foremost, obviously, to the drivers. This is very much to our liking, and I think it's very much to the liking of the drivers. Looking back at last year's World Finals, wasn't quite as glorious, quite the opposite, with lots of rainfall, but great to see Eric Chung in the car and back in the championship, and great to see our 27-strong field here in qualifying action this morning.
Great to see him on the top step of the podium once again, returning to racing as a race winner. Here is Jan Sandman then, who chased Sven Schirmer all the way to the Shell-Am title last year. He is, dare I say it, utterly determined to take the Shell title this year. So Jan Sandman, there is Sven Schirmer. He has the distinction of having a couple of driver coaches that work with him. Most drivers have a driver coach. Sven has two, Andrea Gagliardini and also Max Blancardi. I was chatting to Max Blancardi just a few moments ago whilst making my way up to the studio, and Sven, very determined driver and very successful driver, and elevated from Shell-Am to Shell this year. So Paolo Scudieri then, he's done an installation lap. Let's see now as he crosses the timing line. There are a couple of elevation changes here on the Mugello circuit, and let's ride on board right now with Paolo Scudieri. We run the telemetry on the car as well. Right, this is into the San Donato turn number 1. You climb uphill, and it is an overtaking opportunity, and you can actually set yourself up for an overtake going into this chicane, which is turns 2 and 3. So we're riding on board with Paolo Scudieri then, third gear right now, just on 95 kilometers per hour, then accelerate and accelerate and accelerate up through the gearbox before braking again. It's a very topsy-turvy circuit with lots of elevation changes, and Paolo Scudieri certainly knows the circuit as well as any driver, I would suggest, that's out there on track. Now that's a turn which can really get away from you. The car is naturally pulled almost to the outside of the track as it goes through gradient change and weight transfer. Rather think this is the second of Paolo's installation laps rather than being an absolute hot one. Of course, it will be the quickest of anybody that is out there at the moment, because he is one of only 5 or 6 drivers that is out there getting around the circuit. So wouldn't read too much into the times that will be posted by Paolo Scudieri, because I think it does take probably at least 2 laps to bring these tyres up to temperature. Third gear right now, just feathering the throttle around the back of the circuit now. You can see this is the final chicane on the track, and then big blast before the final turn here, which is a left-hander. Now the entry and execution of this turn can be critical and crucial for how you're going to deal with the long start-finish straight, which, as I mentioned, has got 2 big elevation changes in it as well, heading up towards turn number 1, the San Donato turn. So here comes Paolo Scudieri now. Ignore this lap time, because this is going to be the one that counts, that he starts right now. That was installation 2. This is where we're going to go for it now, I would suggest, Nico.
Indeed, that's the first time on our timing screen and now on graphics for you, but as you say, it's not indicative of what we will see over the rest of the session, and there is a replay and super slow-mo of Paolo going through the turns. You've already made mention of the undulating nature of this circuit. It's up and down and up again. kind of on both sides of the valley. You climb, then you descend into the valley, you climb again, and then you descend towards the start-finish straight. There is so much elevation change, and there are so many corners, so you're almost always on it, except for the very, very long straight.
I was talking just as heading up to the broadcast studio here to Christian Colombo, who's one of Ferrari's official driver coaches. And I'm going back probably 14, 15 years. One of the very first hot laps I had in a Ferrari Challenge car was with Christian Colombo at the wheel, and it was at this very circuit. And I still remember and shudder, actually, at just how he could scare me, because you're absolutely right. He doesn't have, any of these drivers don't really have much time to even consider or contemplate, because they are on it, as you say, all of the time. And that was certainly the case with Christian Colombo. And where he really surprised me, and this is something that we'll talk about perhaps when we see the appropriate part of the track, is that there is a shortcut into the pit lane from the back of the circuit. Now, completely unbeknown to me, I didn't know Christian was going to take that shortcut after a couple of laps. So completely threw me, and he did take that shortcut. And oh my goodness, we're going in. And we were going in. We were going into the pit lane. But yeah, fond memories. This is Lisa Clark then for Pirelli Racing, who's currently the fastest of the Shell drivers, but again, these times are just gradually building and coming down. Paolo Scudieri quickest of anyone. And Lisa Clark has her lap time deleted because of a track limit penalty. Basically what happens during qualifying is if you are deemed to have exceeded the track limits during qualifying, that lap time that you are on will be taken away from you. And that's precisely what has happened with Lisa Clark. So all the effort that potentially she has put into that lap is completely wasted because the lap time has been taken away. Now, yesterday, I was monitoring the free practice sessions, and there were lots and lots of track limit warnings and lap time deletions. So I am very minded that we might see quite some lap times taken away from this qualifying session because of those track limits. And here's somebody else, Shintaro Akatsu, that has suffered from a track limit. And basically the rule here is, with track limits, you can put two wheels over the white line, as Paolo Scudieri did just there on the exit of the chicane. But the minute it becomes four wheels over the track limit areas, which is delineated by the white lines, then that's considered a infringement of the track limits, and you will be penalised.
Absolutely, and you generally think, oh, every corner is the same. Actually, race control has identified in the driver's briefing with the drivers, these are the corners, and there you can see another one,
yep,
where we will have an extra look, and in some circuits there are extra cameras positioned there,
yes,
and it's really a black and white decision. There is no grey area. It's 1 millimeter, you're still good. The next millimeter, you're outside the track, and this is one of them. You can't cut the corner there on the inside because obviously it will give you an advantage, and the drivers will push the limit, but when they go over the limit, race control will say that's an unfair advantage. And so this is one of these spots. Again, drivers are reminded of those spots, specifically in the driver's briefing. So if they attack these corners, it's at their own peril.
Yeah, and the thing is that, you know, it's a risk-reward scenario, isn't it? Of course, inevitably you're going to be a tad quicker, but when the whole lap time is going to be taken away from you and you've pushed and pushed and pushed, then, you know, that's futile. Shintaro Akatsu at the moment is looking good. Purple Sector 1 and Purple Sector 2. This could be a new top-of-the-table time for Shintaro Akatsu then, as he rounds the final turn and heads towards the timing beam then. We're looking for a sub-157 time, which would put him in the gun seat of the Shell Am drivers and maybe even every driver. Indeed so. A 151.497 from Shintaro Akatsu for the very successful Ineco Reparto Corsa Ram team. Try saying that when you've got a piece of chewing gum in your mouth. 151.497. Well done, Shintaro. I'm loving the new livery, incidentally, Shintaro. The sort of grey and white combo there works beautifully across the 296 Challenge car. So it is Shintaro Akatsu from Jean Ryu, then Lisa Clark. Lisa Clark is the best of the Shell drivers, but Shintaro Akatsu and Jean Ryu, who are both Shell Am drivers, are quicker than the next best driver, which is a Shell driver, which is not necessarily the way you would expect to see it.
No, it's still early goings. 10 minutes have elapsed. And I say early goings, well, it's 1/3 is gone, and we have not seen quite a few of the drivers. Meanwhile, we can see a strong contingent currently on their out lap. And that means they will have set their strategy. We'll wait for 10 minutes, then we will go out, and then we will start going through the progression and setting ourselves up for a quick lap time. Mugello is one of those circuits where there are a lot of gravel beds, and that can spell positive things, because the gravel beds are designed to reduce an impact if you get off the track, but it also means once a car is beached there, inevitably in qualifying it will bring out a red flag.
Yes, and we saw 1 or 2 of those in the FP sessions. We hope we don't see those in the quali sessions, but Nico is absolutely right. The whole design concept behind the gravel beds is to prevent impact, but once the car is beached in the gravel bed, it's got to be recovered before the session can continue. So Giuseppe Romelli, who's making his return to the Ferrari Challenge this weekend, comes in at P2 with Paolo Scudieri now P3. And Shintaro Akatsu takes yet more time out of his previous best time with a 1:51.222 now. So it's Akatsu from Romelli and Scudieri and Ryu. They are the top 4. Robin Mays is the second fastest in our Shell drivers, and Ken Sato, third fastest of our Shell drivers. The Shell drivers with the yellow colour backdrop to their number, if you will. And here comes Sven Schirmer, the Penske Sportwagen Hamburg driver, who is in
more than a second off the pace on this lap. So indeed, this is more of a progression rather than the one that Sven and his driver coaches had penciled in for their attack for P1 position. Where are we right now? Shintaro Akatsu with 1:51.222. Everybody else 3 seconds or more adrift. So still lots of potential and improvement for most of our drivers, and indeed most setting up personal bests as designated by the blue color, including Sven Schirmer. But as you can see, 4.5 seconds. That's not what he's aiming for.
That bearded chap, you know, is Andrea Gagliardini, one of the driver coaches to Sven Schirmer, and alongside him is Max Bancardi. Both Andrea and Max are hugely successful Ferrari Challenge drivers in their own right, and they are coaching Sven Schirmer and coached him to championship winning position last year. Shintaro Akatsu goes back to the top. Alexei Komarov was momentarily P1. Here is Paolo Scudieri looking to improve from his current P3 position. And Paolo Scudieri improves to P2 right now. As we split the screen, and you can see the driver coaches all working hard. They're crunching the data and also communicating with their drivers out there on track. And we're reaching the second half of this qualifying session right now. And there is a number of drivers that we've not seen meaningful times from yet, I hazard to say. And one of those is Sven Schirmer, who we can see here, driver of the 175 car. Expect him to be there or thereabouts, but we're not seeing it yet. On the conclusion of this lap, we will see a time put on the board. Here's Alexei Komarov for the Scuderia Prague Racing Team, currently P3. A very good showing from Alexei Komarov, who, dare I venture to say, Nico, over the second half of last season and the beginning of this season, we've seen real improvement from Alexei Komarov.
Indeed, yeah, absolutely. He has shown his talent and has shown his progression in talent and experience, and certainly been much more present at the sharp end of the results. And as we can see, he is entering that final eternal sweeping turn, and he's now reaching the final apex, and now full throttle onto the start-finish straight, which also takes kind of forever.
Yes, with the two elevation changes that I've mentioned, he does well. But here comes what we think is going to be a new P1 time from Sven Schirmer, if he can hold it all together, and why wouldn't he? Sure enough, he goes to P1 with the first time in the 150, so 150.846. Well done, Sven Schirmer. Top of the chart for now. There he is. Dare I say, you could see from that profile picture of Sven Schirmer that he is really rather typically German, in utterly determined, full of focus, and his car is full of full chat flat. I mean, he has delivered a very, very good lap time, and he's going to go again, Nico, in the hope of improving that. I hope I wasn't disrespectful to my legion of German friends, and dare I say, one or two fans as well.
You sure about that?
No, not.
It's the famed combination of German driver and masterful Italian machinery that Sven Schirmer is putting to good use, and there is obviously lots of history to that combo, and very, very good history under the prancing horse.
Yes, there is quite some history.
Jean Roux.
Some of which was relived here just a couple of years ago, when something that I thought would never ever happen did happen, in that a German driver who was not necessarily always particularly fan-friendly when it came to the Ferrari mark, one Mr. Timo Glock, joined us on the air along with young whippersnapper Ollie Behrman. What a weekend that was, Nico. It was a finale Mondiale weekend, wasn't it, I think?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And yeah, fond memories there as well. I was more thinking of a certain Michael Schumacher. But anyway,
absolutely. No, and I don't take any of that away from you. This is going to be the first sub 150 time, I predict. Oh, by a second and a bit. A 149.824, Nico.
Yeah, indeed, and immediately followed by Shintaro Akatsu, but he has his lap time disallowed for track limits, so no improvement there. Andreas Koenig has put it onto P3 provisionally, and there is a combo of black and orange liveries.
Another German.
Thanks for making it easy for us to differentiate. Not. Jan Sandman, always very distinctive. Mostly by virtue of having a lot of speed and a lot of momentum out of that turn. Not sure if that was one where race control will feel that track limits had been exceeded. Something to watch, but anyway, I think traffic compromising his lap right there.
I would agree with that. They are almost identical, those cars, aren't they?
Yeah, certainly at first glance, very, very difficult, but he continues and finishes his lap for the time being. He's ranked as second. There is Shintaro Akatsu, purple first sector, second sector, not quite as good, but still in it with a shout to at least move up the order, if not to take the provisional pole position. We're about 10 minutes away from the end of this session. Who's out of position? Boris Gideon, arguably, who hasn't set a time, and then obviously race winner from last time, Eric Chung, who came out of the pits fairly late, so I think he's still in his normal progression, but he needs to get the hurry up soon, as Tibor Valent put it on P2, but Shintaro Akatsu has improved P3 overall, but P1 in the end.
Yes, it's Schirmer and Valent, the top two for the Shell drivers. For the AM drivers, it is, as Nico has said, it's the car of Shintaro Akatsu and Andreas Koenig, P1 and P2. Red flag. So somebody is off somewhere, which has caused the red flag. Now, we indicated that this could happen, and that has been quite a contact, Nico. I couldn't quite see who it was. Is it Boris Gideon potentially? Is it Stefano Inama?
Is that Andreas Koenig?
I think it is.
Yeah, it is Andreas Koenig. I mean,
it is.
Most important thing, obviously, he's walking away, and
Just furious.
He is furious with himself, I assume. Well, there is always the potential of another car being in his way or somewhere where he didn't expect it. Maybe we'll see a replay, but in any event, the most important thing is Andreas is perfectly fine. Yeah. And that allows us to wait for maybe a replay and focus on the strategic impact this has on the session going forward.
Well, The strategic impact is that it's right on the cusp, Nico, of with 9 3/4 minutes remaining as the session was suspended. It gives those drivers that are going to go back out again, it gives them a couple of laps of warm-up before really one hot lap, maybe two, before the session will be over. Right. There is Manu Gosta. Oh, what lovely, lovely. What a great shot from one of our RF team. Well done. Of Manu's pet there joining us. So, yeah, it's going to be really tight for our drivers. And, of course, Nico, it's going to be very, very busy out there.
Absolutely, absolutely, because we will have 26 cars out there, and I don't think anybody will feel comfortable with the time that they have set.
No. And there's just not, honestly, 9 3/4 minutes. You know, I don't think I'm overplaying it, Nico. That is a couple of installation laps and then one hot lap, isn't it? Maybe two.
Well, I think realistically 2, but that means you have to be ahead of the queue and you have to have clean track, because with the number of cars and everybody trying to find track space, those who will come out of the pit lane last might already on their outlap be in the way of those who came in out first and are already pushing. So it might, you know, it might snake all around the track is what I'm trying to say.
Well, no snakes there, just sharks. That's von Skeltermark, who is currently P5 in class. There's Sven Schirmer's wife looking on. P1 for hubby at the moment. Not convinced that we're going to see that better. The only time in the 149s came from Sven Schirmer. No one else was able to get within 7.5 tenths of it, including Tibor Valent, who came the closest. And Tibor is P2 as we speak. So quite some clear-up operation to go on to recover the bits of Andreas Koenig's car, but Andreas we saw walking away from the car perfectly okay. Perfectly okay, which reinforces the integral safety of these wonderful cars. Leon Rinbeek then, who drives the car that looks very, very similar to that of Jan Salmon in terms of livery. So yeah, just to reinforce, Andreas Koenig is perfectly okay. The car less so, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is a testament to the integral safety of the Ferrari Challenge cars, including, and in this case, the 296 Challenge. As we take a look at a few super slow-mos from the session thus far.
So we await the all clear from race control as to when we can go back to qualifying. 9 3/4 minutes remain on the clock. Now, the minute the pit lane goes green again, or the pit lane light goes green, the clock will start again, and it will start counting down. So the session time is not going to be extended, and it basically means every driver has got to really maximize their opportunity, which is why you always see this queue of cars waiting to get out there as quickly as possible when the session does go green again. No information yet from race control in terms of our message screen as to when we're going to go green again. Sometimes we are fed that information and they say, right, session will go live again in X. And there you can see the hard-working team here at Mugello look like they've kind of got everything almost cleared up, Nico. So I don't think we're going to be a long time before we go back to this qualifying session.
Yeah, definitely looks like it. And now obviously race control will give that information to us, but primarily to the drivers and the team. So if they feel like tire pressures or anything needs to be reassessed, etc., they will usually get 2, 3, sometimes more minutes of advance warning before the session will restart. Thus far, no indication. And certainly one of the concerns will be, has there been any impact with the barriers that would compromise their safety and their ability to withstand another impact? So that's obviously going to be the most critical one, apart from having the track cleared of any small pieces of debris which could lead to a puncture, which
absolutely
brings its own set of safety concerns.
Absolutely. So you've identified that correctly. There will be a number of drivers that will jump out of the car and they will consider that they've done as much as they can do. And I think one of those drivers is this man, Paolo Scudieri, who's decided that the risk-reward benefit, Nico, of going back out again, he's not going to gain so much. And bear in mind that the tyres that these drivers qualify on, Nico, are the tyres that they will start the race on. So there is a theory, isn't there? And again, it's back to this equation of risk/reward. Do you take more rubber out of your tyres, or are you better off remaining with really, really good rubber for the race and conserving what you've got? There's no scientific yes or no, I don't think. And I am surprised, you know, I just saw right at the head of the queue, Sven Schirmer. Now, for example, Sven Schirmer has got 7.5 tenths advantage over anybody else. If ever there was a driver that you would think could park up, surely it would be him, but he's German.
And he's Sven Schirmer, and I think that even supersedes his nationality. I mean, I think one factor on the other hand, the warmer it gets, the quicker the track will be. It evolves, and therefore every minute that passes away, how much will it bring? 100 there, 200, 100s there? It's a little bit difficult to really judge, but anyway, I think the expectation is towards the end of the session with the tarmac as it's warmest, it generally affords you the best lap time. Will it be much of a difference? And that's exactly where that trade-off is. I think in theory, if you have a clear track and everything is in your favor, going out again probably is the right thing to do. But if you feel like there is traffic and I'm not sure if I'm going to get it, I may put more wear on the tires, and at the end of the day it's not going to count for anything, that's where it becomes a little bit of these gut feeling decisions. I think Sven Schirmer will always go for, I need to be as quick as I possibly can. P2 with more tire preserved is not as good as P1 with maybe having spent a few more laps out there. So I get what you're saying. With Sven, I would always venture to say he's going to take the angle. Here is an update for you. Yes,
the session is going to restart in 1 minute and 10 seconds time. So 10:02, we're going to restart. So not long for us to wait, and we will have the entire 9 3/4 minutes that remain back on the clock, and we will be off and running again within the next 55 seconds.
Indeed, we could see a few doors closing, a few drivers getting ready, and more doors closing as we watch on. Some drivers already in the fast lane, the others still in pit lane in front of their garages. Everybody's well, I say everybody, those who will be eager to go out will be readying themselves for that launch, that attack, 10 minutes or so.
I was just taking a look at the, I mean, we have data sent in to us here in the studio, Nico, and as is so often the case, you teach me many things and have done over the years. In fact, I bow to your oracle-like knowledge in terms of the enhancement it's given me as a broadcaster. I would not be half the man I am today were it not for everything that you have done for me. What the heck does FW mean across a track limit? Because Jean Rieu, I was just looking at the track limits charts. A number of drivers have had 2 track limit warnings and 2 lap times deleted. Jean Rieu has had 3, and not only that, he's got FW against his name. What does that mean?
I think you led that with a lot of hyperbole about
Maybe.
myself and what I've been able to teach you, and none of that is accurate. I think on this occasion I can give some clarity. In the race later on, 3 track limit warnings is just okay, and the FW should stand for final warning. But it is set up for race conditions, so when you're at 3 track limit infractions, you're on the final warning.
Makes perfect sense now.
But as I
why
said,
have I never noticed that before? How many years have I been in this business? Rather too many, some would say.
No, I wouldn't say that. But anyway, it is academic for this quali session. As you explained earlier, here in the qualifying, it only means whenever you are judged to have violated the track limit rules, that lap is deleted. There is no other consequence of that. So the 3 is bad because it has disallowed 3 laps, but has no further consequences. We go on board with Eric Chung, race winner in Le Castellet, way down the order by his standards, P7 overall. He's one of those who will be eager to improve. You can see that rear view mirror in center shot, which says green, and that is an indication of the track condition. That means the track is green, so if there is a yellow flag, if there is a red flag, it will not only be visible by virtue of the flags and the LED boards around the track, but it will also be visible inside the cockpit of each driver, so that gives them an extra indication of what to look out for, and that's another thing that contributes to the safety of this championship. As we go back to Sven Schirmer,
making his way around the final turn and heading now onto the start-finish straight, being followed by Alexei Komarov. And yes, the qualifying session back in full swing, having been temporarily suspended for the recovery of the Andreas Koenig car. Sven Schirmer currently the quickest driver out there with a 1:49.824. Tibor Valinta's got the closest to that within 7.5 tenths with a 1:50.554. Best of the Shell Am drivers is Shintaro Akatsu, ahead of Andreas Koenig. Ironically, Andreas Koenig, driver that caused the suspension of the session. And Sven Schirmer does mean business, exactly as predicted by Nico, that he was dissatisfied, if you like, with his 1:49.824 and felt that there was more in the car and more in himself, and Sector 1 would indicate that he has been able to extract a tad more from both of those elements.
Indeed, and by virtue of what we felt like, that you really need 2 laps to have an absolute peak, then maybe there is even more in the combo next time around.
Yeah.
Don't know if that sequence of turns was exactly the right way, the perfect way, and indeed the time would indicate that that wasn't the case. So he will regroup. He will obviously be made aware of that by one or both of his driver coaches. So set yourself up for the next lap. Don't worry too much about this one. Make sure the next one is the one that you can leave your mark and propel yourself further up the order. Eric Chung, we predicted, he is showing purple on the first sector, so he is on an upward and onward trajectory.
Mrs. Schirmer watches on as we split the screen as Sven is about to break the timing beam. And he's down, Nico. Needs to go again, and Eric Chung gets a bit of a tank slapper on there, but may I say, controlled that beautifully. Well done, Eric. Eric, of course, returning to racing just a couple of weeks ago in Paul Ricard's circuit and was on the top step of the podium. And having raced for so many years as Eric, I think it's fair to say it was a big emotional moment, wasn't it? Return to racing, and not only return to racing, return to victory.
It was one of those moments that we love this sport so much for, and
absolutely,
which just exuded that emotion and the relief and the satisfaction. So many things coming together in that one moment on the podium back in La Castellet. Go back to watch that stream when you have the time after this session. I remind you, Eric Chung, he also not the best second sector. Will it be an improvement overall? Resides in P4, moved up to P2. 3 personal bests, so again, he will go. Sven Schirmer again, purple first sector. There is Eric Chung, and maybe we will see a replay of that scene where he was a little bit sideways. I don't think so. I think this was one clean and tidy through that sequence of turns.
Yes, he's got within 6/10 of Sven Schirmer. And now Sven Schirmer has got traffic ahead of him, Nico, and this is going to compromise his lap. It's going to ruin it.
Possibly, I mean, and it could be worse. Oh,
Nico! Was that Fritz Muller that he was up against there?
I think so. I'm just having a look if I can see it. Was it a 144 car?
Oh, in which case it's Stefano Nama, perhaps.
I'm not quite sure.
No, I think it is Fritz Muller, isn't it? 155.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
I mean, 6 of 1, half a dozen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for Sven to set a quicker time, he would need to go by at that moment. On the other hand, Fritz Muller in his own qualifying session, there is no rule, there is no blue flag. He doesn't have to let anybody pass. He's in his own race, qualifying, if you will.
Yep.
And I think this was a classic misunderstanding.
Yep.
And fortunately, no major grief, no contact. Everybody was able to continue.
But I don't think Sven is going to be able to get another lap in, maybe one. He'll use this as an install now and go one more time, Nico.
Yeah, because obviously it was on the previous lap, but all momentum had been relinquished.
Now, the incident involving those two cars in turn 15 has actually been noted by race control, Nico, because whilst, you know, there were no blue flags and you're not in a race situation, you're absolutely right. There is still a certain etiquette, isn't there? As Corinne Chung, Eric's wife, looks on. And in fairness, Nico, Sven has parked the car. He's brought it into the pit lane.
Yeah, I think he may feel like he's compromised the tires with some dirt on it as he dipped the wheels into the grass and just felt, oh, and is that Henrik Kamstrup?
Well spotted. Well spotted. So Henrik Kamstrup, he recovers from there. Now, you can hear the gravel being chucked out of the Henrik Kamstrup car. This is von Skeltermaar, who is currently 5th fastest in class, and that is Sven Schirmer, who's going to go and take a look at the timing screen. He'll see that he's still at the top. Eric Chung had got within 6/10 of him. We've got 1.5 minutes remaining in this quali session. Is anyone going to be able to take it away from Sven Schirmer, the P1? Well, you would say that Eric Chung is the most likely, Nico, based on pace that we're seeing at the moment. But don't rule Tibor Valint out of this either.
No, indeed, but
Eric's got traffic ahead of him, Nico.
Yeah, and I was out to say pretty much the same thing. We saw it with von Skeltermaar, who was very quick, and then in this final part of the track, he encountered traffic, came upon a few cars, and even though they tried to make way, as we saw before, everybody's in their own session. There is a lot of cars out there, still almost 20 on the track, and this winding circuit really isn't very good at allowing drivers to take different lines without losing time. It's just the nature of how this circuit is built and its characteristics. So let's see who can do what. Charles Chan with a very, very good first sector.
Tibor's not going to be one of them. He's brought the car into the pit lane, Nico.
Yeah, currently P3. Very likely a second row start. So let's see who can do what. Shintaro Katsu still P1 in the amps. He's also in pit lane. Andreas Koenig, in spite of losing the car, is
I
still
know.
second ahead of Boris Gideon, in class that is. And there is Boris Gideon, if I called that correctly, the 103 car, and indeed he is, and he is still trying to potentially move up the order.
I think this is a slam dunk. Eric Chung has got a track limit, Nico.
Yeah.
So that's Horlick's the lap that he's on. I think our scene is set, and Sven Schirmer has done enough. He will feel that he had more in him, and he will feel that he was going to be able to improve, but it's academic now. I think our pole sitter for Shell is going to be Sven Schirmer, and our pole sitter for Shell Am is going to be Shintaro Akatsu.
Yeah, and there is. We have a camera into the pits for Sven Schirmer, and everybody's still pointing at data.
There he is. There he is.
There he is, and I think now thumbs up. Now
he'll relax a bit. There's Max Blancardi. And
5/10 to the good. And where is Jan Sadman, his traditional rival? He is 5th overall, 4th in class. That's going to make for an interesting race from his vantage point.
Well done to Shintaro Akatsu then, who has delivered it in terms of the Shell Am drivers, Nico.
Absolutely. Great to see Shintaro Akatsu on pole, and great to see him race here. Obviously, we already had a race in Japan this morning at Okayama, so just a testament of how vast and wide the Ferrari Challenge world is. Yes. But great to see Shintaro here, and great to see some of...
Well done, Sven. Not always, you know, it wasn't until the very end of the session that he was going to be prepared to be as chipper as that. There's Michael Verhagen and Eric Chung then. He's putting his crash helmet back into the storage area. And Shintaro Akatsu, Nico, I mean, that's awesome. Being congratulated by Sergio Paulet. Hasn't even had time to get the helmet and hands device off.
Manu Gostner, long-time campaigner in Europe, now racing in the Ferrari Challenge UK.
Yes, which reinforces what you were saying about the tentacles, if you will, of the Ferrari Challenge and how it reaches around the world, Nico.
Yeah, and the UK will be on the track next week at Snetterton.
Indeed.
Home of UK racing, or something like that. Sven Schirmer.
Wrong with you.
Driver and team manager car 198, that's Eric Chung, are asked to report to the stewards, so they will have seen something on one of their cameras that they want to have a chat with Eric Chung about. Let's see.
Yes. Where we'll be heading in the Norfolk countryside just next weekend. Nico's right. Shintaro Akatsu, well done to him. Well done to Sven Schirmer. We have another qualifying session to bring you in around about 10 minutes' time. Please, please stay tuned for that, because it will be our Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers that will be taking to the track. And there is Eric Chung. Ah.
But that car is 155. Not me. 155.
Okay, so...
I think there is. I mean, what Corinne is saying there is whether there's a misidentification, Nico, and whether it was actually they're thinking that it was Eric's car, which has got a similar livery to that of Fritz Müller, whether it was Eric and Sven that had the coming together, and actually it wasn't. But that's only conjecture from our part.
Although earlier on the graphics they had identified the 155, so maybe there was something else.
Yeah, maybe.
We will... Eric will find out before we will, and we will find out from Eric or someone else later on, but here's the classification.
Indeed. Sven Schirmer takes the pole position for the Shell drivers ahead of Eric Chung and Tibor Valent, and for our Am drivers, the top three, Shintaro Akatsu, Andreas Koenig, and Boris Gideon. Right, so we're back on the air in just a few moments with the qualifying for Pirelli and Pirelli Am. Please join us for that. Bye-bye for now.
posto, io sto a Mugello, poi me ne torno lunedì e poi lavoro sabato e domenica. Un po' moscio ultimamente, come ti dicevo. Fammi sapere i prossimi lavori dove stai, se è capace di scegliere a piano.
If you look at that lock-off shot that's center screen right now, just below the Mugello circuit, you can see a little sign there that says TV compound, just to the left. Hello to all our colleagues in that TV compound that bring us these pictures and make us sound and look as good as we do. So I'd give them a big shout out as the qualifying session for Tropho Pirelli and Pirelli Am is about to get underway, Nico. I think that's fair. And we have some 12 drivers that will be taken to the track, including Sergio Paulet and Max Mugelli and Danilo Del Favero. And here we are at the Mugello circuit then in Tuscany. We're about an hour and a bit from Florence, maybe an hour and 10 minutes from Bologna. And it is the second round of our 2026 calendar, which thus far, of course, we have been to Le Castellet. We head off to the Styrian Mountains of Austria and Spielberg next. Then it is in support of the Le Mans 24-hour race. Then it's Portimao, then Budapest, and then Barcelona this year will form round 7 in mid-November. Very much looking forward to Barcelona. Very much looking forward to every event on the calendar this year. Gonna be good. Gonna be good. Track temperature right now is 25 degrees. The air temperature is 15 degrees. And there you can see the first chicane, which comes after the San Donato turn, which is what we're looking at right now. Here is the track map for you. And I mentioned 5.245 kilometers. It's undulating, this circuit. Uphill and down dale, they would say in the UK, because that's precisely what it is. There's kind of not a moment's rest for the drivers, perhaps with the exception of the very, very long start-finish straight. You come off the final turn number 14, and then it is full chat flat along that start-finish straight before you get to the San Donato turn, which is the right-hander. Sergio Paulet, Max Mugelli, Danilo Del Favero, Herbert Guys, Enzo I, Anders Bidstrup, Michael Verhagen, Jakob Bidstrup. And we're not only going to see those drivers, but also Nobuhiro Imada, Otto Blank, Giacomo Rinaldo, and Karl Runfeldt as well. The Pirelli drivers have a red strip across the top of the windscreen. Pirelli Am drivers with the white strip across the top of the windscreen. They're categorized separately but raced together, and that is Michael Verhagen for Ferrari Warsaw. And Michael, a darned fine driver. Hello, friend. And that is the car of Max Mugelli, if I'm not mistaken.
local heroes, Max.
Absolutely, they were at an event in Florence just a couple of days ago with the car on display and inviting people to be part of this weekend, which is lovely to see. And Max Mugello then, as you say, very much local hero. Tina, his I was going to say long-suffering. That would be the wrong thing to... Long-standing support, of course, right alongside.
Wow.
And there you go. Forgive me, Tina. Forgive me, Max.
That pit is right beneath our commentary position.
I know. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. And Karl Runefeld going through quite some warm-up there for Autoropa Racing. Sweden. Martin Nelson springs to mind, Nico.
Indeed. Indeed. Very fond memories of Martin Nelson in the Ferrari Challenge. Great bloke, great racer as well. Would love to have him back. Giacomo Rinaldo is not back, but he's here, number 75, and great to see him in the car. Final stages of preparation, I want to say, but we're effectively already a minute and a half into the session.
There is Nobuhiro Imada. Now, Nobuhiro does a lot of driving, does a lot of racing. In single-seaters as well as in GT cars. So Nobuhiro knows a thing or two about propelling a car around a track. And there is Sven Schirmer, just in the backdrop of the picture there as well. And Sven Schirmer has just put it P1 for the Shell drivers in his qualifying session, which has just been completed. So Nobuhiro going through his warm-up routine. And there is the pit lane. It's all quiet at the moment before the cars erupt, and we have Danilo Del Favaro out there on track. Accelerating right now in the number 9 car, Danilo Del Favaro for Penske Sportwagen Hamburg. Around the final turn and then full chat flat, start finish straight, or pit lane potentially indicated right, and that's where he's come. There's Herbert Guys, Harold Prochik alongside, and hang on a minute, in the backdrop of the picture there, was that not young Luca Ludwig I saw? There he is. I wasn't wrong, was I?
No, absolutely not. Luca Ludwig there in the pit lane. Obviously, he has raced in the Ferrari Challenge himself.
Very successfully.
Quite successfully indeed. And now everybody's back in the pit lane, having had a short stint. Now, why is everybody in the pit lane? Why isn't everybody using 30 minutes of qualifying session? Dave.
Well, there's reasons for that. And that is that the drivers have very much a plan when it comes to qualifying in terms of when they're going to go out, when they're not going to go out. What I always find really curious is that every driver has their plan. And there he is. Luca's a very talented young man. His father, Klaus, of course, was a very talented driver as well. But yeah, I've got a lot of history with Luca. And so back to the story then, and qualifying. Every driver has their plan. Doesn't always go to plan. And what I find curious is when you've got 30 minutes. You know, if it was me, and I'm not a racing driver, if it was me, I'd be out there and I'd want to be doing it straight away and to bank the best I could. Curiously, drivers tend not to do that. And the reason for that is, particularly at this stage of the morning, Nico, the track is evolving almost with every minute because the sun is beating down on the tarmac. It is changing. They've had one session out there on track with a load of rubber being put down. And it's Otto Blank getting ready. Some caricature images of Herbert Guys you can see in the back there. So yeah, there's all sorts of different reasons why drivers may hold on and choose not to go. there we can see Karl Runefeld ready to go. And there, it's just all quiet on the Western Front, isn't it? With all the cars just lined up in the pit lane. Not out there. Just biding their time, being patient. Which, given that with the time we have available to us, we can take a look at some of these wonderful images that our crew have put together for us of drivers and preparation that's going on. Nobuhiro Imada, then you could see, and as Nico mentioned, that we're racing in Ferrari Challenge in Japan this weekend as well. Okayama, if my memory is correct. It's Snetterton next weekend. Basically, the Ferrari Challenge races here in Europe, in North America, in the UK, in Australasia, in Japan, and also from this year in the Middle East as well. It really is the most revered one-make championship around the world. No question about it, the Ferrari Challenge. And there in the brightly coloured top is Manu Ghost. Now, she is Ferrari Challenge driver, has raced for many years in Europe. This year, preferring to race in the UK. So she will be in action next weekend in Snetterton. And she was there testing in Snetterton just last week, because I was there as well, not testing. But I was there just checking out all the drivers as they went about their official test session. Nico at Snetterton Circuit in Norfolk. Urge you to join us for that as Anders Bidstrup and Jacob Bidstrup getting together, ready to go out. Both of them driving the Pirelli Am category. There's Jacob. So yeah, it's pretty much jolly near every weekend you can find Ferrari Challenge action on the air everywhere.
Indeed. Home of UK racing, Snetterton again.
Where you got that from is beyond me. Former airfield, of course, based up there, just on the A11 in Norfolk. And for those that are observant will know, as you drive into the Snetterton circuit, there is a sculpture on the left-hand side of a taking off fighter plane, reminiscent of the part the airfield played in years gone by. Silverstone, of course, was also many racing circuits actually, Nico, former aerodromes, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. But Snetterton is, again, so renowned as the home of UK racing. Sorry, I'm being a little
fool.
Flippant.
A little bit flippant with a bucket full of flippancy, may I say.
8 minutes have already elapsed, and unfortunately we have not been able to bring you a lot of...
Bombhole is one of the terms at Snetterton.
296 Challenge Evo in action. But
help me, please.
I guarantee, and I don't do that very often, I guarantee that will change before too long. My prediction is in about 2 minutes, minute and a half, we will see the first wave of 296 Challenge prowess emerge from pit lane and go about installation laps. Very calm and modest first, but then very powerful, and as if by magic there is
Sergio
movement.
Powlett, yeah, and Max Mugello, they're on their way down the pit lane. Well done, Nico.
Well, it was even quicker than I thought. But now finally we get some action that we can bring to you. The 296 Challenge stationary is a beautiful thing. In movement and action. Wow. Buckle up.
Here comes Sergio Powlett then. Driver of the #1 car. So warm welcome back to Sergio Powlett, back racing in the Ferrari Challenge this season. Delighted to see him here. And he had a very successful weekend, Nico, in the Paul Ricard circuit in the south of France, Le Castellet, as it's known by some, where he took, if memory serves me, 2 wins out of 2 starts in that particular weekend of Ferrari Challenge Tropho Pirelli action.
Yeah, indeed, and he did a lot of work in qualifying, but then led the races. Didn't have it all come his way very easily. He was challenged, especially towards the latter stages of the races, but held firm and deserved and clinched those 2 wins, which puts him in a very, very commanding position early on. Let's see what this weekend will bring. He's up against local hero Max Mugello, who obviously has track knowledge aplenty.
Yes.
Even though Tina has professed that Mugello circuit, in terms of the way the circuit characteristics are, is not necessarily their most favorite one.
No, which is curious, isn't it? You know, normally you would expect your home circuit is always going to be, but you're quite right. That isn't necessarily the case. So the Inico Reparto Corsa Ram team engineer this car of Sergio Paolo that we ride on board with right now. The flickering screen that you can see middle of the screen is the review screen that the drivers have on these 296 Challenge cars. It's impossible for them to have a review mirror internal because the big safety bulkhead at the just at the back of the driver. So they have this screen which every single driver prefers to have because it gives a more expansive view, if you like, of what's going on behind them, a wider, more defined image, which is projected from the cameras embedded in the back of the car to the screen that sits on the dashboard of these 296 Challenge cars. So here comes Sergio Paolo then to set about potentially his first lap. The Faye speed camera not quite called into necessity yet, as Sergio is going through another warm-up routine, another lap of installation, if you will, before letting it go properly. We run the telemetry for benefit of just doing so, but this is very much another warm-up lap from Sergio Paolo before he gets going good and proper, I would suggest.
Indeed, but get your eye in on what you can see in terms of the data. You can see the speed, the gear, if he's braking, accelerating, and as you say, it's not indicative of what a race setup would be around these parts of the track, but it is great, especially when they're really pushing, to see how far they can stretch towards the apex of a corner before really braking, and how early they can get out onto the throttle again if they get the apex and the turn exactly right. You have been around the circuit in a challenge car. I also had the pleasure many years ago, hint, and the acceleration and deceleration is quite something. The grip level around those turns is another thing that's it's not a sight to behold, but it's an experience to behold. It's really totally different than what you can ever experience in a road car, even the best of them. It's just a different level of adhesion with these Pirelli P0 slick tires. And Sergio Paolo is now approaching that final very long left-hander, and we expect him to invest into that final turn and be on the throttle as early as he can be in order to get a good exit and be over the timing line with the maximum amount of speed. 245, 250 is what he hits.
Climbs up, and now king of the late breakers going into turn one. Sant'Anata turn. This is very much an opportunity to overtake in the race before you get into this chicane. Now, we have seen in the previous qualifying session that we were able to broadcast earlier on today that a number of drivers have had lap times deleted because of track limits. So Sergio Paolo will be very well aware of that, because the drivers take a look at every session that's out there on track as well, just seeing if they can glean anything from the information provided by the other drivers. And there are some specific turns where the track limits are perhaps more prevalent than others. Sergio Paolo, for now, clean pair of heels. Brakes now, going through this chicane. Blast to the throttle, back on the throttle once again. Sector 1 was a purple sector time, which is no surprise. Sector 2, a purple sector time as well. It's no surprise, because it's the first meaningful time that we're seeing from anybody out there, with almost half the session done and dusted. Again, through the chicane. Sergio Paolo then heading up towards the final turn right now. Will leave braking to the last possible moment. Now, This turn is a really difficult one to get done correctly, and sure enough, Sergio Paolo, all that effort, Nico, has counted as 0. As you point out, he's got track limits, and that means that lap time is just deleted.
Yeah, and it's this zigzag snaking part just before they approach the final turn.
Here we can see it.
If you cut the corner on the inside and all 4 wheels are outside the white lines on the inside of the turn, if that makes any sense, it probably doesn't, even if it's only by a millimeter or two, that is considered a track limit violation. And this must be so tantalizing, so difficult, because you're really pushing. You're at the end of the lap. You will know, oh, I need just a few more 100s, a few 1000s.
You're looking at the delta.
You will be pushing, and the discipline to follow the line that you have practiced in free practice, in the test sessions, and just be just on the right side but still attacking, that must be so difficult. Now we've got a lot of session remaining relatively for Sergio to rectify that, but it's one of those laps where he put a lot of effort into and which counts for naught.
You're right. And not only does it count for naught, but it's a degree of rubber that he's taken out of his tyres. Here comes Anders Bidstrup then. This is looking good. Carl Rinefeld is currently P1, a Pirelli AM driver. Anders Bidstrup goes to the top of the chart with a 156.800 for the Formula Racing driver. Here comes Sergio Paolo, going well again with 2 purple sectors, Sector 1 and Sector 2. Now, it was the final chicane where he came to grief in terms of track limits, so needs to be ever mindful. But at the moment, we have no indication that those track limits have been violated this time, so we're expecting this to be a new potential P1. Jacob Bidstrup had provisionally put in P1, but now it is Sergio Paolo with a 1:47.664. What an extraordinary time that is from the Inico Reparto Corsa Ram driver Sergio Paolo, a 1:47.664. And there you can see inside the garage, they'll be very happy about that. You can see Sergio is really hustling the car, Nico, and feels that he's got even more beneath him. And he's trying to extract it, but again, he's looking very close on those curves. He's got traffic ahead of him as well. I think that was the Herbert Guy's car who did well to keep out of his way. And yes, I said that I thought he was taking liberties, and sure enough, he's picked up another track limits warning. So that means this lap time is deleted. So everything that Sergio had done, and you can see he's really eased up now because the team have been on the radio to him and said, bail this lap, the lap is over, you've got another track limit, no point continuing to push and push and push. Concentrate and focus now potentially on building for the next one.
Indeed, we're now at the stage where all the cars have emerged out of pit lane, so whatever strategy the drivers are on, it has put them out onto the circuit, so traffic is not quite as intense as it was with Coppershell earlier.
Sure.
But obviously everybody out there means that traffic can play a role, and probably will. Max Mugelli is now approaching the end of the final sector, which gives us an understanding of where he is compared to the Sergio Paolo time. It's 2 personal bests, still 2 seconds away from that current P1 position, but he is going through his progression. Now he needs to be aware of the track limits, and I don't think that he did it. Honestly, I think that was cutting the corner. Well, let's see what race control thinks about it.
That was a slam dunk in my opinion, Nico. Even kicked up some dust almost as a smoke screen. We'll see. Max Mugelli now, of course, Max flashing his lights furiously as he crosses the timing line now. Does move up to P4 overall, and well, to be fair, we're seeing nothing to indicate that that was considered a track limits violation. Okay, here's Anders Bidstrup looking quick with Sector 1 and Sector 2 coloured purple within class, of course. So Anders Bidstrup currently second to Jacob Bidstrup. taking a very different line through the final turn, trying to carry as much speed as possible, keep at least 2 of those wheels within the white lines, and head to break the timing beam right now. Anders Bidstrup vaults his family member and goes P1 in class. So it's Bidstrup, and now it's Danilo Del Favaro who's split the 2 brothers. As Danilo Del Favaro goes second fastest within Pirelli AM. Here comes Jacob Bidstrup. Is this a good time? I don't think it's going to trouble where we were.
No, definitely not. He wasn't pushing throughout the entire lap, so maybe he set himself up for another go at this. And go from one Bidstrup back to the other.
And interestingly, and we should make this point, Max Mugello is currently second Pirelli driver, but 6 overall. Where Max qualifies, irrespective of class, is where he will be starting. So at the moment, Nico, he would be on the 3rd row of the grid, yes?
Absolutely, that's how we set the order for the races later on. There is Anders Bidstrup. He is the quicker of the 2, for the time being anyway. You can identify the car by the blue color applications to the mirror and a little bit to the front splitter. There is Danilo Del Favaro, very distinctive livery.
And Danilo is pushing here, Nico. Sector 1, personal best. Sector 2, better than anyone. So Danilo, who's currently 3rd fastest in class, is hoping for an improvement here. He'll try and keep it within the white lines. Penske Sportwagen Hamburg. Now accelerating out of the final turn. Just 2 wheels onto the curbing, and that's allowed as Danilo Del Favaro does improve a place, Nico.
Yeah, and he's only 18 1/1000ths off the P1 place in class, currently held by Anders Bidstrup. So that is P3 overall, P2 in class. With 7.5 minutes remaining. Might it be those 18 1/1000ths that will make the difference for pole position? And I add a point, because you get a pole position point in class. And Max Mugello would like to have the pole position point for the Pirellis. He's still pushing, as you can see. Approaching that final turn, 2 personal bests. And he needs to climb the order. If not for pole, he at least wants to be higher up the order overall. And he's approaching that line, a 1:47.664. I think that is not going to be possible, but where will he rank himself? He's P4 overall. So it's clawed back at least a little bit. There is Tina.
Looking on. And Max improving with every lap. 6.5 minutes then remain on the clock as Ronaldo for Rosso Corsa we're watching right now, who is 4th fastest in the AM class of the Pirelli drivers. We've still got some drivers that are perhaps arguably out of position. Nobuhiro Imada, Nico, I would have expected to see higher up the order than he is currently. He's on an outlap, isn't he?
Yeah, he hasn't really set a meaningful time yet. He's 13 seconds off the pace, and as you say, he's on an outlap, so he's one of those who still needs to make his mark in the most important way. Ronaldo, he is quick, and he's currently 5th in class. That will go to P1 in class, 2nd overall. 1.3 seconds away from Sergio Paulit, but more importantly, quicker than anybody with a white sunstrip.
Here's Herbert Guys, who's also looking good, Nico. Personal best sector 1, personal best sector 2. He's currently 7th in class. As Enzo Aid goes to the top of the Pirelli AM qualifying. And Michael Verhagen is putting the pace down as well. Here comes Herbert Guys. It's all going to be a flurry of activity in the final 5 minutes of this qualifying session. This is Verhagen then, the driver of the number 33 car. Sector 1 was really good. Sector 2 less so. So let's see what he can do in terms of putting it all together through the final sector. Braking now into the final turn. Then hard on the gas once again, accelerating out and heading towards breaking the timing beam now. Here comes Michael Verhagen, currently P6 in class, and goes to P1 in class, just proving the point, Nico, that you haven't got to colour every sector purple to still be able to do enough. And Michael Verhagen, a 1:48.751, is within a second and a tenth of Sergio Paulet's pole sitting time overall.
Indeed, and it's exactly 1/10 quicker than Enzo Aide, but I think there is still movement and there is still going to be changes. The M class has been really, really dynamic over the last few minutes in terms of reshuffling the position. Anders Bitter, who's just P2, is down in 4th in class. Favreau, who was 2nd, now in 6th. So things are changing. Herbert Geis is one of those who wants to change things up. He's now 6th in class, and he wants to move up that order. Del Favreau, meanwhile, has just come into the pit lane, so his qualifying session probably over, as is Sergio Paulet, who feels safe in P1, also helped by the fact that Max Mugello is equally in the pits. I say that, he's now coming out again. Herbert Geis.
That really surprises me, Nico, because it will be one lap, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Herbert Geis, not an improvement in terms of position, and neither in terms of time, almost matching his previous best. So maybe he will go again. We're in this area where it now becomes a trade-off between tire preservation and the potential for improvement.
There's Sergio Paulet then, who's about to remove the Shintaro Akatsu looking on. Incidentally, Shintaro Akatsu had done a good job in his qualifying session. Sergio Paulet, having done a good qualifying session with a 1:47.664, is Nobuhiro Imada, Nico, is one driver that we said still hadn't put a meaningful lap time down. Nobuhiro Imada is currently P8 in class, personal best sector 1, personal best sector 2. 2.5 seconds are still on the clock in this qualifying session. Nobuhiro Imada is one of the drivers that we would expect to see perhaps move up a bit in this qualifying session. Good job done by one of the Bidstrums there, that keeping out of Nobuhiro Imada's way, he retains and remains on personal best through sector 1 and sector 2. Is this going to be an improvement from P8 in class for Nobuhiro Imada? He's ready to break the timing beam now. Sure enough, he moves up another couple of places, Nico.
Yeah, and with just 2 minutes remaining, that means he, in theory, could do 2 more. Not sure if he will, but certainly still has the opportunity for an improvement. And there is a super slow-mo of the very distinctive purple and red livery on the number 44 car, which is picking up the pace, as we can see. Michael Verhagen is no longer picking up the pace. He's currently has picked up the pace and is P1 in class. And right now, I don't see anybody who's currently challenging. As I said, there is still time. Nobuhiro Imada, one of those who is still trying to improve. And there is Max Mugello, who has come out again.
I find that remarkable, Nico, but he probably feels that he can improve.
And I mean, the fact maybe that will have influenced the decision is P10 overall.
It's a long way back on the grid, isn't it, relative?
Indeed. So maybe even if you can just find 2, 3, 4 10s out there,
that would be enough to elevate him up a couple of
places, a couple of rows.
A couple of rows even, yes.
So let's see if that strategy will come true. First sector time, don't think so. Don't think so. 2 seconds is a lot to be, and I think he's already bailed the lap.
Yeah,
don't.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he has. It was probably worth the gamble, but the gamble is not going to pay. So I think we have our order, and that is Sergio Paulet P1 for Pirelli drivers and Michael Verhagen P1 for the AM drivers. Qualifying session for our Tropho Pirelli cars and drivers is done and dusted. Max Mugello with a valiant effort right towards the end. but it wasn't going to work for him. So checkered flag is out. There will be no more until it gets to the real deal racing.
And that's at 3:15 local time this afternoon.
Well done, Mr. Verhagen. You can see how his wife's had something to do with his hair this weekend. It was all spiky and, you know.
And quick, absolutely quick. I mean, quick hair is important. I mean,
Charlotte, hello to you. And that's Charlotte Michael's partner as opposed to Charlotte, my partner.
It's a very good name. And over here in Imada, well, the first sector was quick, and he, as we said, he has 2 more chances just when he put in his previous and current best time. The first sector was really, really good. And now let's see if he can do something about that pole position in class. Second sector, he was, oh my God. He is almost identical with Michael Verhagen in class. So that song is still playing.
Oh, Nico, just when you think it's all over. This is Ferrari Challenge all over, isn't it, in terms of the drama continues right until the very end. Look at this, Michael Verhagen looking very, very tense all of a sudden. And here comes Nobuhiro Imada then. And the time he's looking for is a 1:48.751. Oh, 5/100ths. Oh, the look of relief. The look of relief. Well spotted, Nico, because I hadn't spotted that.
Well, it gave us another boost of drama. It does give Nobuhiro Imada, even though he didn't make it to pole, he's second in class, and that is quite an improvement.
Well done, Nobuhiro.
Great effort towards the end, and well, that made it very entertaining right until the gun. Michael Verhagen keeps pole, but Nobuhiro Imada moves up to P3. And overall in second in class, and that is now officially the final driver to cross the timing line or come into the pit lane, and that means we do have our results, and there is Sergio Paulet celebrating pole position overall and in Pirelli, explaining just how he did it.
Yes, always interesting to listen in, isn't it? There's Giorgio Senagiotto, and just in case you needed to know which way to go, here's confirmation of the qualifying then. Sergio Paulet, P1 in class. Michael Verhagen, P1 in class. Then Nobuhiro Imada. Enzo Ai, Giacomo Rinaldo, Anders Bidstrup, Danilo Del Favero, Herbert. Guys, those are the first 4 rows of our Ferrari Challenge Tropho Pirelli grid. Then it was Jacob Bidstrup, Max Mugello, Karl Runefeld, and Otto Blank. The results brought to you in association with FIA. And what we can do now is say we're very much looking forward to the race to come this afternoon, where we are expecting lots and lots of action across the 5.245 kilometre circuit. From Nico, from myself, thank you so much for watching qualifying. We'll see you for the racing this afternoon. Bye-bye for now.